and he's has a 2-game lead, Danya. So
Right.
I don't think he could have done much there.
Yeah, I wouldn't dismiss that decision. I actually think that the more I looked at that position, the moment you do something a little bit inaccurate, Duda gets his bishops active, and it could turn from looking good to getting checkmated in a moment. And Wesley, again, he's up 2 points. He believes in his skill. He's got half of the 3-minute segment to go. He's got the white pieces. He sees no purpose in taking what he feels is unnecessary risk. Of course, I also am a big fan of action, but that's the decision he's made.
Yes, indeed. And now we have a pawn that can be captured on e5, or do you capture the pawn on d5 first?
That's what he's thinking about.
He's trying to figure out. He takes on d5, and one of those examples of a known position, but you just want to make sure that you're remembering it correctly, because you make one inaccuracy, and all of a sudden white gets the initiative, and you're like, okay, why didn't I take on d5 before taking on e5? So he did do that. The bishop on d5 looks good. The bishop on e5 also looks good. Will bishop h6 be a thing? Will bishop h3 be a thing? It's essentially that white's up a tempo in the entirely symmetrical position.
Right. And these are actually very unpleasant. It seems it has this air of a symmetrical position, but it needs to be played with great accuracy by black in order, as you said, to not allow this extra tempo to spiral out of control into an initiative. Queen b6 I like. He's kind of preempting queen b3. He's preparing rook d8. Wesley, though, deploying his bishop to h6. This thing is heating up.
It certainly is, and rook d8 looks very natural here. The one downside of rook d8 is if the queen is forced away from the defense, there could be a bishop takes f7 check, right? Because rooks tend to win the stare down on an open file when there's a piece in between a rook and a queen, but you can get a discovery at some moment. So instead, bishop g7 was played. Looks reasonable. If this queen needs to help the diagonal, you can go to f6, but importantly, you're stopping the queen from getting to d4. Danya, white is up more or less 2 developing moves at the moment.
Yeah,
but because there are no weaknesses, right? So that's how relevant is that lead in development?
Well, he's got to make something happen in the next couple of moves, because what is black going to do? Knight a4. That's what Wesley's trying, because if Duda gets his knight from b8, let's say, to f6, okay, the problems have been solved. His king is safe. So Wesley's trying to get that d4 square for his queen, and Duda might want to slide his queen around to f6 to prevent that from happening. That, however, contains its own drawbacks. Wesley can then imitate him and position his own queen on b3, attacking the b7 pawn. So Duda, knight a4 is an amazing move.
Sorry to interrupt you. There's rook takes c8 there as well. Right? After? Rook takes queen f6, rook takes c8. Let's show me the analysis board.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yes, I did, my friend. Hey, I'm just stealing a pawn. Why not?
You're just evil.
I'm a pawn grabber.
But knight a4, Robert, that's the kind of move you look at. Okay, let's move on. It's actually a brilliant move. It forces black to make a very committal decision. And queen b4, he had to stop that. a3 is possible.
He's keeping b7 defend and keeping d4 under control. Goes queen g4. Rook c8 is meant by, don't forget, queens can move back.
Oh, queen c8. That's hilarious. But, oh my, there's a crazy line. But anyways, queen b3, I think, is the safe continuation. But there's so many choices here white can make. What else can he do? He can try to keep the queen away from g4. You can play f3, although that's pretty weakening.
Yeah, that doesn't come recommended.
No, definitely not. e4 even. But Wesley definitely correct in taking his time here. He senses that this is a moment he could really press while the iron is hot. He doesn't want to mess this up.
And rook takes d5. Let's say black can move. Would look like a threat because you take one piece. When the queen takes back, you take a second piece. But the issue is your bishop on c8 loses its defender. So I was thinking about ideas with a rook takes d5, the knight not defended any longer on a4, but you can't get away with it with this bishop hanging. So he plays f3. Who are you, Danya?
I don't know.
That move looks so bad to me.
No, I agree. But he sees something very concrete. I think he really wants to get that queen of his to d4 at all costs. And he thinks that if he does that, his problems are going to be solved. But actually, queen d4 check, I was a little bit worried about e5. I was worried about e5 here because queen takes e5, f6. Oh, and then queen c7. I see.
Also, you're not actually attacking the bishop on d5 because
that falls apart. That's true. Rook fd1 now. But then knight c6.
And there's also e6 ideas that you need to keep an eye out for because the bishop's pinned.
Yeah, so rook fd1, knight c6, and knight c... Yeah. I don't know. I think knight c6 is almost forced.
Okay. So knight c6, you're saying? So e6, there must be some tactical flaw.
There must be.
Or like knight c5 maybe or something.
Chowking Laureate. 6 bestsellers na sanap saya together. Pa-deliver na.
Queen takes d5.
So maybe not knight
Queen
c5.
a4.
Oh, so it was knight c5. Ha! Show that real quick. I was like, that was my intuition, but now it's not loving it. So is there queen?
Guess we're about to find out. Queen
I'll
takes
let them do
d5,
it,
queen
so.
a4. It's going to happen. Is there some b5 there? No.
Wait, so Wesley falling for the same trap that I just fell for? Because I see the eval bar.
Oh, queen. I think it's queen e5.
Oh my gosh, you just picked queen f7. That's it. Instead of capturing, instead of being greedy, he just went queen f7. And, well, that's a problem.
This is a pretty serious problem, I'd say, because that bishop cannot move. Now, wait a minute. Knight a. What is going on here? The speed of the what? Robert, rook d8. Is this going to sustain itself though? Well, on a worst case scenario, Duda can play rook a6, rook b6, give the knight back up, and win b2. I think he's preparing for that.
Yes, because this is a long journey. Maybe it's just going king d6 and then knight d7 if you take on g6. But the problem is
that's too many pawns.
And the pawns are fast.
Draw? Is it draw?
He plays b5. I think Jaggedy sees the score. He wants to win, but he's 6 seconds. And I think it's more likely that he blunders than he
But I don't know about that. b5, now he cannot extricate his knight at all. He has no ideas here.
But if king e3, there's b4. So he has like one little trick
that is a vicious trick. Even b4 you could even ignore.
Okay, wait.
Oh, but this is spiraling out of control. There's just
rook
no way
takes
this is good.
I almost feel like rook takes g6 or f5 first, and just pushing these pawns is good.
F5, and you could even sack something and get these pawns rolling, like f5, gf, ef. King has to go to b7, right? You need one more move. Rook a6.
This is bad. Here it comes.
Rook takes b8 there was interesting, but instead he just pushes the pawns straight through g6 here.
Just that easy? Push him, baby?
Push him, baby. But it's not going to be that easy as it seems. Maybe you need the king's support.
Right,
because g7, rook takes f7. This is not over.
It's so
rook
close.
E8. Rook e8.
Have rook f8. I'm just trying to be a clown. But he was rook e8, now g7. Oh, knight check doesn't do anything.
g7, but this is... Oh, g7, rook f7. He had some forks. Oh, he's going to move, but it's over.
Yeah,
it's
he was
indefensible. And